All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Tonight, we are going to talk about definitely herbs and the nervous system, but herbs and lifestyle choices that we can make to help us deal with ailments like anxiety, depression, trauma, things like that. All right. Okay. Had to get my dog's bone. Um, so I I take teaching very seriously. It means a lot to me that I relay the information as clearly and accurately as possible. So I did write the class and I will be looking at the tablets just to stay on course and make sure I'm getting all the information out there that I want to get out there. Okay. If at any time you have questions, just drop it in the chat. Like I said before, make sure that when you put it in the chat, it can either go directly to a person or to everyone. And you've got to check that sometimes to make sure it's going to everyone or the person you're wanting to send the message to. All right. I am so grateful for these opportunities that I am being given to share what I have learned over the years with people. I take these opportunities very seriously, and I have a deep sense of responsibility when it comes to teaching. Sovereignty and empowerment are two very important values that I hold, and I always want to do my best to share those values with others, helping people to find their own sovereignty and to feel sovereign and empowered. I always think that it's important to know that everything that I talk about, I was taught. I was taught everything that I know, whether I was taught by a person, a book, the plants themselves, the spirits. I learned everything that I know, and you can too. So I'm really happy to see you here making that decision to learn tonight. There are so many wonderful teachers out there. All right. And there's so much to know. And that's why it's important to keep that in mind. Always explore other teachings, do your own research, ask questions, question everything. Okay. Because we are all humans and humans make mistakes. I have a funny story I might share with you about one of my big herbal mistakes when I first started. um, when we speak about herbs and the effects that herbs have on the body, always remember that every body is different, and how an herb affects one person does not necessarily reflect how that herb will affect another person. I encourage the people that I work with and speak to take the time to get to know an herb, build a relationship with it, tune into your body, and pay attention to how you might feel before, during, or after working with an herb. And one of our favorite ways of building relationships with herbs is through the simpling method, simpling. And the simpling method is when you use a single herb, and whether it's in a tincture form, tea, capsules, oil, whatever form you want to work with it in, and you work with that one herb over a set amount of time, whatever you want to do, and then note any changes that may or may not occur in your body. When developing relationships with herbs, the simpling method I think is more beneficial because when you work with formulas with more than one herb in it, you can't really be sure which herb is producing which effect. The vocabulary that we use in herbalism is very important. And honestly, the words that we choose to use every day are very important because the words that we speak shape our lives. So I've been working on changing the way that I speak about herbs. I want to remember to view herbs as the living beings that they are, because herbs, plants, Mother Nature, these are living beings and they are our friends. All right. And we don't use our friends, and we would not want to be used by our friends. It feels more like being a tool than a spirit. So instead, I like to work with my friends. I take care of them and they take care of me. And we've got to remember to respect and appreciate the medicine that the plants that our friends bring into our life. And we should never take it for granted because anything can change in a heartbeat. Yoga. There are many, many herbs that are in danger of that are endangered, and they're in danger of going extinct because humans have this tendency to use things up until they're all gone, which is why I think remembering to respect the plants is so important. These online classes that we are offering, they are free to the public. However, any donations or contributions that you could make would help us tremendously. We are an herbal ministry and we work very hard to provide free medicine, free counseling services, and free resources to the community every day. And right now, we are in a lot of need of support because we are searching for an affordable building to move our operation to so that we can expand. I have put some information in the community chat about how you can donate if you would like to. And you can also reach out to me via text or email if you would like to get involved. Once we get into a bigger space, we'll be able to have volunteers. And when you volunteer, we pay for you to go to school to learn about herbs. You learn a lot while we're making the medicine. It's really, really cool. Um, Also, we hand make every herbal remedy that we offer. And when you do purchase from us, every remedy that we sell, one gets donated. And the proceeds that we do get from selling the herbal remedies help to fund our free clinic. And right now are helping us to work towards getting our building. We also do in-person workshops to raise money for community nourishment. And our next in-person workshop is July 17th. It's on Volano Beach at the Volano Beach Community Center. And you can find that information at communitynourishment.org/gatherings. All right. So I want to spend this time tonight sharing tools, thoughts, and ideas with you that are not only easy to understand, but also easy to implement into your life to assist you in nourishing your mind, your body, your spirit, and then taking what you have learned and sharing it with your family and your community. I want to share with you knowledge that can help you to better understand your body and what you can do to strengthen and nourish your mind and body, thus working to build a foundation for you to continue building on. Yes, tonight we are going to learn about different herbs that you can build relationships with to assist you on your journey. But it is very important for me to bring a lot of awareness to what it is that you eat every day, whether it's mental health, cardiovascular health, digestive health, whatever it is that you're wanting to strengthen in your body. Your diet is your foundation. And a lot of people don't like to talk about that, but it's so important. I tell people all the time, if you wash your herbs down with a Big Mac and a Diet Coke, you're going to cut the efficacy of that herb in half, and you don't have to nobody's perfect, right? But being mindful of what you're eating, what kind of quality food you're eating is so important. And when it comes to mental health, I think it is the most important thing. The state of our gut has a direct effect on our mind, our brain, and really every organ in our body because our digestive system is responsible for processing, breaking down, and absorbing the nutrients that we need to live. And I want to repeat that. The nutrients that we need to live. Our body requires certain nutrients to function and to thrive. All right. Um, Unfortunately, we live in a society that is undernourished and overmedicated, and I would really like to see that change. The majority of the food here in the United States is fake, and every drug that we take, pharmaceuticals that we take, strips our body of vital nutrients. When we eat processed foods that are loaded with sugar and preservatives, colorings, and who knows what else is in our food, we're not even sure sometimes. Our body cannot recognize it because it's not real food. And when we eat that stuff, it causes problems like inflammation, malnutrition, and disease. And you will find that a lot of mental illness comes from some sort of inflammation in your body. Take a sip of my tea here. So, when working with any ailment in the body, whether it's mental or physical, I like to start with the 4 pillars of health. These are 4 things that we can use to build our foundation and then work off of that. The first pillar is going to be your diet. And yes, I go hard about the diet and the food that we eat. The second pillar is sleep. The third pillar is movement. And the fourth pillar is stress management. Okay, so cleaning up your diet, eating real nourishing food, and making sure that you're getting at least 8 hours of sleep every night, which I understand can be hard for people. It may require some discipline and sacrifice to make sure that you're getting enough sleep at night. Moving your body helps to keep your blood moving, your lymph moving, your energy moving, and all of the fluids flowing through your body. And then, with the stress management, we can ask ourselves, what can we do to reduce some of the stress in our life? For some of us, it might be monitoring our screen time, whether it's on the telephone or the television, maybe just turning your phone off at a certain time, maybe deciding that you can't talk to a certain person or talk about a certain subject because it stresses you out. These are just some things that to give you examples of ways that you can check in with yourself and see where you can reduce stress in your life. Explore that on your own or reach out to a trusted friend or practitioner to help you figure that out. Before we begin about the herbs, I want to mention the energetics of herbs. I work with the energetics of everything, herbs, people, everything, because everything is energy. Energy is my first language, and being aware of energy and how it works and how it can work to enhance and change our entire lives is a really, really powerful skill to develop. So, herbal energetics are like the actions that herbs take, the actions that herbs have. Like, does the herb move energy up? Does it move energy down? Does it move things in? Does it move things out? Um is the herb relaxing, or is it stimulating? Is it drying, or is it moistening? Is it warming, or is it cooling? These are all examples of herbal energetics, and every person has their own constitution too. Some people are more damp than others, where other people are more dry than others, just as some examples. And like I said, feel free to leave any questions you may have in the chat box and I will get to them. Um, so we've got that. So I want to talk about the energetics of depression and anxiety. All right. Depression, and some of you, like, as you learn this, you'll be like, oh, wow, that makes sense. Depression is a really heavy, cold, sluggish energy. That's why we don't feel motivated. We don't want to move, or it can be really challenging to get out of bed. Um, so depression, yeah, it is cold, stagnant. Our vitality, our energy isn't flowing very well, and we can feel that. Where on the other hand, anxiety is a very hot and even drying type of energy. And that kind of makes sense. Heat rises, and when we're anxious, our nervous system is going all over the place. We have thoughts and feelings racing everywhere. That's a sign of heat. Okay. So this is a great example of why energetics are so important, knowing our constitution, the energies that are within our body, and then matching. Like, if we have a very cold, damp constitution, we would not want to work too much with cold, damp herbs, because that would just perpetuate that energy. We would want to instead work with warming, drying herbs. In either case of anxiety or depression, I believe that nourishing and strengthening the nervous system is in order. Our brain and our nervous system requires certain nutrients. I'm still letting people in, so bear with me. Our brain and our nervous system, they require certain nutrients to function properly. The B vitamins, all of the B vitamins are very important because they're necessary for hormone production. They build the myelin sheath, which is like this protective barrier around the nerve cells, and they do so much more. Minerals. Minerals, I believe that we are like hydroelectric beings. We are water and electricity, and that is also like magnetizing. So we're like hydroelectric magnetic beings. And I believe that minerals are like the conductors, right? And unfortunately, almost everybody, at least here in America, is deficient in minerals because our soils are depleted. Also, because of the amount of toxins that we are exposed to on a daily basis, whether it's from our food, our air, chemicals. Minerals play a key role in binding to these toxins and getting them out of our body. So, if we are overloaded with toxins, the minerals are too busy trying to get toxins out of our body rather than doing the million of other jobs that they have in our body. And I want to talk about that. One of the things that we do offer is biominerals formula, and it's an absolute game-changing formula. It has burdock, bladderwrack, and Irish sea moss. We need 102 minerals to function optimally, and this formula provides all 102 minerals. And the community nourishment team has been taking this formula daily for about 6 months now. And not only is our hair, nails, and skin just stronger and glowing, but also, like, I should have broken my leg about 2 months ago, and I didn't. And I really think it's because my bones are getting stronger, my muscles and tendons are getting stronger. Minerals build us up, and we need minerals. Okay. So if you do any ailment that you may suffer from, whether it's physical or, thanks, Amy, whether it's physical or mental, minerals, you cannot go wrong starting there. The only thing that I would say is, if you have a hyperthyroid condition, you might not want to use the bladder rack in the biominerals, and that's a conversation we could have and take that out. But if you have a hypothyroid condition, bladder rack works wonderful for that. Let's see. Fats, good, healthy, real fats preferably from animal sources, are very, very important for maintaining a healthy nervous system and really overall health. The fats contribute to the structural integrity, protection, communication, and signaling that fuel development and repair of nerves. So let me repeat that. Fats contribute to the structural integrity, protection, communication between, signaling, fuel, development, and repair of nerves in the brain. And the nerves in the brain cannot function properly without good, healthy fats. And like, it's hard to find healthy fats that our body can recognize outside of animal products, and you can find them, but it is challenging. And if you don't want to like eat meat or cheese, raw dairy products, not the pasteurized stuff that is dead, then cod liver oil works really well, and that's something that you can easily just take, swallow. And yes, so now we're going to talk about herbs. And I want to remind you again, herbs build off of our foundation. Our foundation is our diet, it is our sleep, making sure that we're moving and managing our stress. I like to say that herbs work with us, not for us. And unfortunately, we have been born and bred into a society where there's a pill for everything and everything is instant. And as someone who has worked with people for many years, that seems to be a really big challenge, is consistently working with the herbs over time to achieve the goals that you want. I personally, over the last 10 years, have remedied myself from Crohn's, endometriosis, PCOS, and I also, verbiage is very important. I still see PTSD is still a challenge for me, but by consistently eating real food and taking herbs, I am able to keep the symptoms of my CPTSD at a minimum. And I do find that, like, if I go out into the world and eat the food too many times, it causes a chemical imbalance, and then I start feeling depressed, suicidal, anxious, all of these things again. So herbs are great friends to help us, but they don't do the work for us. Okay, and consistency is key. Let's see. So tonight, there are so many herbs in the world, and they all have so much to offer us, and they do so many things. But tonight, I chose to pick the most reliable herbs that I work with, the most versatile herbs that can help. That like lemon balm. Almost everybody can work with lemon balm. It's just a very reliable herb. And not only is it good for the nervous system, but it's good for the digestive system, the liver. And I wanted to keep that in mind for tonight. And also, the herbs I'm going to speak about are the most accessible. Accessibility to real medicine is one of our focal points, making sure that people have access to real medicine. All right. So, even though I've kind of classified these as like herbs for depression, herbs for anxiety, these herbs have so much more to offer. And some of the herbs like will help with depression and anxiety, but I'm just trying to keep things structured in a way that we can understand. So, some of my favorite herbs for depression include rosemary, gotu kola, tulsi, which is also known as holy basil that is also known as tulsi, albizia. Albizia comes from the mimosa tree. Some of you might, I think the mimosas are flowering right now. They're these beautiful trees with these amazing pink flowers. And the flowers work really well too. I mostly work with the bark. Bacopa, Damiana, ginger, chamomile, and St. John's wort. And a common theme that you will find in the herbs for depression is a lot of these are very warming and stimulating, because keep in mind, depression is a cold, stagnant, sluggish condition, ailment, right? So we want herbs that come in and get things moving, get things flowing, reduce stagnation throughout the body. So let's see, we've got rosemary here. Rosemary, you can even just cook with rosemary and you will get a lot of the benefits from it. Ginger, too. Uh, Mimosa is blooming everywhere up here in South Georgia. Yeah, yeah. And so those flowers, if you know where the tree is growing and you know that they don't spray it with pesticides, I highly recommend going and grabbing some of those flowers. And if you've never worked with them before, one of the things that you can do, there's a couple ways that you can see if you're going to have an allergic reaction to it. You can, before you go to bed at night, pick one of your arms and kind of crush the flower up on your hand, somewhere on your skin, get some of the juices on there, go to sleep. And the next morning, if you have any redness or swelling or irritation, then it might not be for you. But if not, then you can work with it. Or you can take it and just bite a little bit off, put it on your mouth, on your tongue, but don't swallow, and then wait until the next day to see if you have any reaction in your mouth. Or you can just do what I do, is see what happens. um So yes, back to rosemary. Rosemary and gotu kola, or ginkgo. Ginkgo, here we go. Rosemary and ginkgo, both of these have like a vasodilating effect. So what does that mean? It means it's relaxing the blood vessels throughout your body. And so most of these, like, there's not going to be an herb that only relaxes blood vessels in your nervous system. Like, no, it's going to have that effect in the blood vessels throughout your entire body. Um, but by doing that, by relaxing those blood vessels, that is then allowing more blood to flow, more nutrients to get to your brain, to get to your peripherals. So I really, really like to do that. Like if you're just foggy, having a hard time thinking, don't feel like getting up, getting out of bed, rosemary, ginkgo, holy basil has a really nice uplifting, stimulating effect too. And we also make this other formula called Remember to Focus. This is one of my favorite ones. When I just had, like I said, I had a little setback a few weeks ago where I wasn't eating very well and my symptoms of CPTSD started to express themselves again. I had not worked with this formula in a couple of years. I started using this again. It also has, so it's got gotu kola, bacopa. Both of those are bringing fresh nutrients to your brain, moving old stagnant blood out, strengthening the organ. It's got capicachu in there. Probably not pronouncing that right, but also known as Mucuna praeriens. It's a type of bean. They call it the velvet bean also. This herb has precursors to dopamine. It helps our body to produce dopamine. And the shatavari in there, shatavari helps to strengthen our kidneys. When we strengthen our kidneys, we are indirectly working with our adrenals that sit on top of the kidneys. And they're essentially like our energy makers. So I really, really, really like that formula for depression and for focusing. When you strengthen, our kidneys are directly correlated to our memory and our ability to focus. So sometimes too, if you're feeling foggy, you can't pay attention, you can't remember things that people are saying to you, you might want to nourish your kidneys, eat some watermelon at the very least.
This is the story for the party, barbecue.
I'm sorry, can you say that again? Dima, your mic's on. I don't know if you know.
Sorry, I just took it off. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Happy you're here. Wow. So albizia, the mimosa tree I was just talking about, albizia has this wonderful ability to like invigorate the blood. In Chinese medicine, they say that our spirit lives in our heart. And sometimes when we're anxious or depressed, the spirit has drifted off to somewhere else. And they say that albizia helps to, when you invigorate that blood, it gets everything moving and it'll bring our spirit back home to our heart. And I really, really like that. So I like using albizia to just bring us back home to ourselves, warm us up, get the blood moving. It's an incredible remedy for grief. If you've had any type of loss, it is wonderful for grief. I really love albizia. And remember, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. Let's see. Somebody's mic is still on.
Talking about Nilsson?
Let me see. Okay, we're good. Damiana. Damiana, if anybody does dabble in herbs a little bit, knows a thing or two. Oftentimes when people speak on Damiana, they're mainly focusing on the aphrodisiac effects of Damiana. It is great for date night, okay? It does work well, but why does it work well? Because it's warming and stimulating and it brings blood to different areas of our body. And so I really like working with Damiana for depression. It is actually one of the key formulas, key herbs in our liquid Zen blend. Got some I can show you. It's not in a bottle. This is how we do liquid Zen around here. Okay. And we'll put a little bit of water in a glass like this. But water is very important when working with tinctures. And then we'll pour it in there, drink it. It's wonderful. We'll talk more about liquid Zen when we get to anxiety. But Damiana is one of the key herbs in there. And it's also one of those herbs. I see. So this is one of those herbs that works great for depression and anxiety because, like, let's say you're a workaholic and you worked all day and you come home and you're still at work, and I just learned this from my teachers, Katya and Ren. This is their example. You're sitting on the couch and you're with your partner, but you're still on your phone checking emails. You're still at work. Your body is at home, but your mind is still at work. Let's see. When making tea, how does it impact nutrient density to use them fresh versus dried? I will get to that question in just a moment. Um, Damiana, when you're in that state where your mind is still at work, but your body is at home, Damiana helps to bring you back home. And it's like you take the Damiana, and then all of a sudden everything's kind of loosening up a little bit. And you're like, oh, there's my husband. There's my wife. Hello. Nice to see you. You know? I really like Damiana for that. For the question about the teas, yes. So while we're on that question, there are a couple of different ways to make tea. And I think that this is important to talk about. You have the infusion method. The infusion method is where you pour the hot water over the plant material, whether it's dried or fresh, and then you allow it to steep for 20 minutes to overnight. And one of my favorite ways to work with infusions, especially if, you know, to be consistent and on top of your herbs, you've got to plan ahead. So I like to use the deep steep method where the night before I go to bed, I take a quart jar and I'll fill it with 2 to 3 heaping tablespoons of whatever herb or herbal blend that I'm working with. Pour the hot water over it, put the lid on, and let it sit all night. That next morning, you wake up and you've got a whole quart ready for you to drink throughout the day. And you can drink it iced, you can drink it room temperature, or you can even reheat it. But if you reheat it, I recommend not allowing it to get to a boil because then you'll start to lose some of the nutrients. I find the nutrient density between fresh and dried, I think that they both hold so much value. But if you're looking more for like those essential oils, like with lavender or even lemon balm, those super fragrant herbs, and oftentimes, even when you dry them, it's still going to have a lot of that, those essential oils, those volatile oils in it. So no, I don't think that it's like a make or break difference between fresh herbs or dried herbs. And actually, I have found that when I'm making tinctures, or oils, you don't really want to use fresh herbs with too much. Like St. John's wort, you have to. Um, where am I going with that? So yeah, it's really like what is your intention, right? With teas, you can use fresh, you can use dried. I sometimes find that the dried herb tastes stronger than the fresh herb, and I don't know if it's because of the water content that's still in the fresh herb. Um, so I hope that answered your question. Let me know if it did not. And then there's another method of making herbal beverages, herbal teas. Also, fun fact, in America, we're like one of the only places that call like herbs tea. Everywhere else, tea only refers to the Camellia sinensis plant, and that's going to be your green tea, white tea, black tea. And in other countries, they call the herbal teas tisanes. And I kind of want to bring that back. I've tried a couple of times over the years, but I'm like, hey, you want some tisane? People are like, what are you talking about? But that is true. Like we're like the only place that calls it tea. But decoctions. So with the infusions we spoke about, that's when you want to use the lighter plant material, the aerial parts, the leaves, the stems, the flowers, because these are more fragile. They don't need as much heat and pressure to break through the cell walls to extract the medicine from them. Whereas roots and barks like albizia bark, burdock root, thicker, more dense plant material, you need more heat and pressure to break through the cell walls of those plants. So decoction is when you'll put the herbs in the water on the stove and then bring it to a boil. And then once it starts boiling, you'll put it on a low simmer for anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour. With mushrooms, you really want to allow the mushrooms to simmer for, like, reishi mushroom needs 2 hours to simmer. Lion's mane, not so much. Lion's mane, you can get away with 30 minutes to an hour. Um, but so I like to think of like an herbal soup when it comes to roots and barks and things like that. And another way that you can do that also is if you have a crock pot, you could put it all in your crock pot. And this is a good way to make roots and flowers and leaves together, putting it in your crock pot and letting it sit on low for like 12 hours. Okay. Take a sip of my tea. Thank you for that question. I was really excited to share about tea with all of you. Tisanes. Let's see. All right, ginger. Oh, when I tell you ginger is, first of all, let's just mention the fact that ginger is known all over the world for thousands of years. And I think that that is really cool when an herb is just so worldwide and well known like that and just passed down for generations and generations. Like there's got to be something to that, right? And ginger is one of those herbs. There is a reason why cultures all over the world have worked with it for so long. But when it comes to depression, ginger just goes in there again and ignites that fire inside of you. It helps your digestive system, it warms your body, it gets blood moving. um, we do have a ginger tincture, but I don't have it here right now. Or if you can go to your local farmer's market or even the grocery store and get some fresh ginger root and cut it up and cook it with your vegetables, or get some ginger powder and sprinkle it on your food, or make ginger tea. It's very pleasant. Ginger and chamomile are really great friends. They love working together. And so it's like ginger will come in and warm you up and get things moving, and chamomile has like this very gentle, soothing hug that it likes to give you. Those two work really, really well for depression and anxiety, and they strengthen the digestive system. And I'm going to repeat it until I'm blue in the face. Your mental health starts in your gut. And if your gut is out of balance, your mind is going to be out of balance.
Can I
Um,
ask a question about ginger?
yeah.
What kind of ginger? Because I noticed around here there's some different kinds of ginger that people are growing. I'm actually growing some ginger, but I grew it from like the regular grocery store ginger that you find. Does it matter what kind of ginger?
Now, the galangal roots that I think you might be speaking of is something that like people are really growing right now, and that is a type of ginger. So I've worked with both of them. I find that like the Zingiber officinalis, my pronunciation is awful, you guys. I have an impediment, but the Zingiber officinalis, the common ginger that we know, I find it to be a little more spicy than the galangal root. But I have also cooked with the, and I'm not pronouncing that right either, the galangal root, not ginger. And I'd say they're similar enough to where if you didn't have, the other one, that it'll work just fine. But also then it's going to be preference, right? Like how that ginger works in my body might work differently than somebody else's. Maybe somebody else prefers that one. So if anything, try both of them if you can, and see how they affect you. As far as taste, yeah, the galangal root I think is a little more on the sweet side than the common ginger.
And
But
that's
yeah,
the fatter one. That's the fatter one. Yeah, it's
yeah,
the
like the galangal, I believe, like, so it's kind of got like the middle and it has these sticks kind of that come up out of it. Is that what you're talking about?
the common ginger. You mean? I'm getting
No,
confused
the
on that. Oh,
galangal.
it's different. It's like a pink. It has a pinkish hue. I've seen it around here, and I hadn't seen it till I moved to Florida. So I think it's. I don't know if it just grows better around here, but I was buying at the grocery store like the organic, regular ginger. That's the brown common ginger. I don't know all the names, but
Yeah, yeah, but that one is my favorite. The one that you get at the grocery store, that one is my personal favorite, but they both offer a lot of medicine.
okay.
So I think either one will be fine. And I definitely encourage you to try both and see how you feel when you consume them. Pine cone ginger, I think is, huh? Yeah, there's a lot of different gingers. Um, so let's see. Thank you for that. Thank you for asking a question. St. John's wort, that's known as like the depression herb, right? And St. John's wort is great for the nervous system, but I always want to tell people, like, first of all, if you're taking any pharmaceuticals, St. John's wort can either decrease the efficacy of those pharmaceuticals or increase them, thus increasing the side effects of them as well. So if you are on any medications at all, I do not recommend using St. John's wort internally. But if you can find a quality St. John's wort oil, and that oil is going to be red, not like kind of red, but red, you can use that externally. And St. John's wort is known as a tropho restorative. And what this means is it restores, strengthens, and rebuilds the nervous system. So you can put that like on your feet at night, on your chest, your temples, wherever you want, and it will go in and help to strengthen your nervous system topically as well as internally. Um, St. John's wort is one of those herbs that, like, if you've never worked with it before, if you're working with it like in a tincture form, I recommend like starting with I like to have people dose small and then work their way up. I'd rather you take too little and not feel it than take too much and feel it too much. So that's one of those herbs where you want to take it slow, build a relationship with it, and slowly increase the dosage over time. Let's see what else. Chamomile. Chamomile does not get enough credit, and I think the reason why is because it's just not worked with properly. I personally do not like the bagged teas in the grocery store. I don't like. Where would you get the St. John's wort oil? That's a great question. My friend personally made mine, but she doesn't make it anymore. But I will get back to you on that. You can look on Etsy, Amazon even, or really I always encourage finding a local herbalist or the farmers markets. And just as long as it's really dark red, that's what's super important. But chamomile, when you get herbs that are ground up, put into these tea bags, first of all, I don't like tea bags because I don't believe that they allow the herbs enough room to expand to extract the medicine. I use a French press when making my herbal infusions. It's my favorite method. I make it very strong. You wait 20 to 30 minutes before pushing it down. You drink your tea, and it's an easy cleanup. But with chamomile, if you're only using like a teaspoon or two, you're not really going to get the punch that chamomile is packing. So with chamomile, I like to use like 1 to 3 tablespoons, at least like a tablespoon to a cup. Make it really, really strong. It goes in, it soothes the nerves in your digestive system. It has a very Chamomile does have it's a cooling effect, which you might think might be kind of counterintuitive when it comes to depression. But if there's probably inflammation in your body somewhere, and chamomile works really well to soothe that inflammation, soothe the tissues within your body, soothe your nervous system. And like I said, it's like a big hug, but all herbs really give us hugs, some tighter than others. And all right, so chamomile, St. John's wort, Damiana. Let's go to anxiety. I want to talk about holy basil, Tulsi, right here. I like to call it holy basil. I just can't thank this herb enough for how supportive it is, especially for people who have endured any amount of trauma. I like to use holy basil when working with trauma. And one of my reasons why is because when our hippocampus in the back of our brain is a part of our brain that is responsible for taking short term memories, processing them, and turning them into long term memories. And by doing that, it's telling our body, hey, this happened in the past. We're no longer there. We're somewhere else now. We're safe. But when we are exposed to trauma, our hippocampus in our brain shrinks. So it stops processing those memories and turning them into long term memories. And that's when we get stuck and we feel like we're still in that moment, even when we're not. And some people can experience this for years and years and years and feel like they're in that moment for years. Um, Holy basil goes in and stimulates the stem cells in the hippocampus, then allowing the hippocampus to expand and start processing those memories and processing those experiences and turning them into memories. Holy basil also strengthens our adrenals, and our adrenals, when we're stressed out, they release the stress hormones, cortisol, things like that. And when we've been in that fight or flight state for a long time, our body's just kind of constantly pushing out those hormones that make us think that we're not safe anymore. So holy basil goes in and helps to regulate that, calm our hormones down, calm our minds down. And it has this like it's one of those herbs that I feel like is kind of relaxing and stimulating at the same time because it does help you to relax and ease that tension. And um when that tension is relaxed, we can feel better. Things are flowing. I will say though that if your adrenals are exhausted, if you are incredibly adrenal fatigued, holy basil will be one of those herbs. And this happens with a lot of herbs. They will go in and say, hey, you need to rest. Your system is shot. Your adrenals are blown. Go to sleep. And that is okay. That's not going to happen every time that you work with it, just at first. And if you can, try to find a way to honor your body when it's telling you that it needs that. That would be awesome because we do live in a society that is like, no, you need to constantly produce, 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 work, work, work. How dare you take a nap? And I think that one of the biggest forms of rebellion against the system is saying, no, no, I'm going to rest. Like rest is a form of rebellion. Um, And that's very important. So holy basil is going to do that. Holy basil strengthens our adrenals, our kidneys. It gets blood moving. I really, really talk a lot about blood because blood is what carries the nutrients throughout our body, feeds the tissues, feeds the nerves. So I get very excited that so many herbs move blood because they're taking old waste out, bringing new nutrients in. Let's see here. Passion flower. Let's see. The Cortisol Connection by Sean Talbot was recommended to me today. That's awesome. I want to screenshot that. And then chamomile is amazing. So many good uses. Yes, chamomile has so much to offer us. Sure does. Um, Passion flower is known as a nervine. So nervines, kind of like trophal restoratives, but in a different way, help to strengthen the nervous system over time. And once again, it's because it's bringing blood, bringing nutrients to it. So passion flower is another one of those herbs that some people can work with her through during the day to relieve anxiety, where other people have to work with passion flower at night because it puts them to sleep. And this is why it is so important to always remember when you're working with an herb, it does not matter how it affected somebody else. It's your responsibility to take the time to see how that herb is going to work with you. So passion flower is a really, really great herb for somebody who does suffer from severe anxiety. If it is an herb that kind of makes you a little sleepy, then that's when we can change the dosage. Instead of taking a full drop or full, take 5 drops and then take 5 drops every 15 minutes until you reach that state that you desire. That's called pulse dosing, where you're taking small doses repeatedly in short increments of time to achieve your desired effect. Let's see. Blue vervain. Blue vervain is hands down, that is the leading herb in our liquid Zen formula. Blue vervain has a downward energy. It helps to pull things, pull the energy down. So, like I said, with anxiety, it's a lot of energy rising, a lot of energy moving. Blue vervain goes in, takes all of those thoughts, and brings us back down into our body. It is a very cooling herb. It is a little drying. Um, on that note, I'll say, like, if there is an herb like blue vervain that you do want to work with, but you have a dry constitution, one of the things that you can do in that situation is you work with blue vervain with moistening herbs. Add some chamomile to it, add some linden to it, or drink a cup of marshmallow root cold brew while you're working with your blue vervain tincture. So that way it's not too drying for you. You're kind of countering those energetics. I love blue vervain. It's just one of those herbs that's like, hey, I'm here, I'm present, I'm in my body. While I'm on that, the third herb out of the 3 herbs in our liquid Zen formula is meadow sweet. Meadow sweet, I like to work with it for systemic inflammation. And like I said, most of our anxiety or depression, or most of everything that ailments that we work with, are because of inflammation. Meadow sweet has this salicylin compound in it that they get aspirin from, except for it doesn't have all of the gnarly side effects of aspirin. So you're going to get pain relief throughout your body working with meadowsweet without those side effects. And a really cool thing about meadowsweet for the digestive system is when you work with meadowsweet consistently over time, it can actually help to reverse damage done to your digestive system because of pharmaceuticals or non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, NSAIDs, things like that. um, Meadowsweet also clears out the mucous membranes in our digestive system. And the mucous membranes are important because they help to keep pathogens and things that don't need to pass through from going into the tissue. But when we are exposed to too many or consume too many toxins, our mucous membranes, they get clogged up and they get full of gunk. So Meadowsweet helps to come in there and clear them out and strengthen the integrity of those mucous membranes. And strengthening your digestive system is the one of the best things that you can do for yourself. Let's see. Motherwort. I don't have that tincture out. Motherwort is also incredible for anxiety because it's a very cooling herb, also helps to move energy down. The Latin name for motherwort is Leonoris cardiaca, which I like to, is like the heart of a lion. And it can give you that, anxiety can come from fear, right? Oftentimes it comes from some sort of fear. So motherwort just kind of comes in, helps us to remember our power, helps us to, let us know that we're safe, calm us down, lower our heart rate, our blood pressure, things like that. I like to work with motherwort for people who have like mother wounds. Um, I'm trying to let everybody in from the waiting room. Mother wounds, people who like that type of anxiety where your face gets hot, you get really, really hot, or you might sweat. Motherwort works really well with that. Let's see. Linden. I don't have any linden out here, but linden is so soothing. That's a very demulsifying. So when I say demulsifying, think of what's a good example? Kind of like if your vegetables are in the refrigerator too long, they get really dry, right? When something gets really dry, demulsifying kind of comes in and rehydrates things, and that's really important. So linden is very rehydrating, demulsifying. Um, I'm all over the place with this. I get so excited. Skullcap. Skullcap. Some people can work with skullcap and like feel it immediately, and I think that's awesome, especially with the tincture. And then some people need to work with skullcap over time to really get those because it's also a nervine, so it's also going to strengthen your nervous system over time, but you want to use it. And this is why consistency is really important. Even if you do go to the doctor and you get pharmaceuticals, they'll tell you you've got to take this for a period of time before it starts to work. So we want to remember that with herbs too. Like, we'll listen to our doctor. Let's listen to the herbs also. Like, let's take them over time. Does anybody have any questions? I'm gonna check. So would meadowsweet be okay to use if you have, yes, if you have, so the question was, would meadowsweet be okay to use if you have stomach ulcer history? Yes, 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 yes. Meadowsweet with chamomile, calendula also works really well with ulcers. But again, if you have a history of stomach ulcers, especially if it's a long history, that's probably more chronic. A general rule of thumb is like every year that you have struggled with something, you want to give your body at least 1 month to start to come back from it. So, yes, but you'd want to drink it every day if you can. And it is one of those herbs that you can drink every day. And also, it works well with children who are like nauseous. Children under the age of 7, you want to be careful with the dosage. You don't want to give them too much, but children over the age of 7 are usually pretty work really well with it. Meadowsweet can help with nausea, ulcers, acid reflux, right? Um, yep. Thank you for asking that question. Lemon balm. Let's see, can you use meadowsweets if you are on thyroid medication and you have a question about pulsing? I think that's the word you use. Can you do the pulsing method with ashwagandha? Okay, so yes, you can use meadowsweets if you are on thyroid medication. Now, like I said, um, I don't know your body. I don't know you that well. And so while I'm giving you what I think is correct, um if you are going to work with meadowsweet, huh? Oh, consultations. Yes, you can book a consultation and that will help me to really hone in on what herbs are going to match your constitution the best. But with anything, no matter what anybody says, pay attention to how you feel when you're working with the herb. It is normal. I'll tell people, like, especially if working with the digestive system, if you feel a little icky at first, that's not a bad sign. Or even if you have diarrhea at first, that it's not a bad sign. That means that things are getting, it's getting gunk out of your system, but you don't want to have diarrhea for more than 3 days. Or if you're having results from it that are uncomfortable, you don't want that to go on for more than 3 to 7 days. Diarrhea, no more than 3 days because you can get dehydrated, but maybe a little bit of uncomfortability. Give it a few days at first to just see, because there's this thing called the healing crisis where everything wants to come up and come out. And all the things that have been stored in your body want to express themselves, and they're going to do that. And it's like a good example when I work with people with acne or rashes, I like to work from the inside out. And while we're doing that, the rashes are going to express themselves more because the pores are opening up and your body is pushing the toxins out through your skin. So it's going to get worse at first, but if you stay consistent, after a few days to a week, it's going to start clearing up. So just like with meadowsweet, to answer your question, like There are no contraindications that I have ever read that say you can't take it with thyroid medication. Just pay attention to how you're feeling when you work with it. I hope that answered your question. What's in your biomineral capsule? So we've got burdock, bladder wrack, so BLADDERWRACK, and Irish sea moss. I have collected a few tinctures recently and want to start taking them all. Are there any herbs that counter the benefits of others, or can I use them all together? Yes, there are herbs that counter the effects of others. Like I said, like it's what are you trying to achieve, right? Um, how can I say this? Like, let's say you're damp, right? You're damp and you're really moist, and that's your constitution, and you're wanting to work with an herb to like dry that up. But if you couple that herb like bacopa with marshmallow root, then marshmallow root can really work to cancel out the drying effects of that herb. Does that make sense? Like some herbs can work well together, others do not. When I first got into herbalism, I was just throwing everything in a pot and drinking it, and it was really interesting. I had some really interesting effects, but it wasn't the best way to approach that. And that funny story I wanted to tell you guys too about when I first, and I want to share this with you just to remind you that like I want to encourage you to get into herbalism, experiment with them. If there aren't that many herbs that are going to hurt you, especially if you go to your local herbalist and talk to them about it, 90+% of them are going to be safe. But when I first started as an herbalist, somebody came in and they wanted help with their lymphatic system. So I went over to the books and I opened it and I went to lymphatic herbs, and poke root was one of the first ones. So I go over and I get her some poke root and I give her back. I'm like, drink 2 to 3 cups of this a day. She leaves. Okay. And then I find out that poke root is also known as puke root because at high doses, it will cause you to vomit. And I did not know that at the time. Now poke root is one of my most favorite herbs, but when I tell you we make a tincture out of it and we only use 1 to 3 drops per dose. And I gave some woman a bag of poke roots and told her to drink 2 or 3 cups a day. This was, 8 years ago, but never saw her again. Don't think, any like poke root will not kill you. It won't kill you, but these are things that can happen with herbs at the wrong dosage, is you can get sick. But then you learn. But so keep that in mind. Like, don't be afraid to make mistakes while you're learning herbalism and working with herbs. All right. Shout out to all of my friends who have let me experiment on them and learn over the years. It's part of it. Would love to know more about controlling acne with herbs. Let me see. I want to make sure we stay. I want to answer that, but I also want to make sure we stay focused on the nervous system. But basically, with controlling acne, that's going to be hormonal imbalances and toxins coming out of the skin and expressing themselves through the skin. So, when working for acne, especially if it's like cystic acne or acne you've had for a long, long time, you've got to look at your diet. Why is your body pushing out so many toxins? Where are these toxins coming from? Our liver is very, very, very important in breaking down toxins and getting rid of them. So I like to strengthen the liver, dandelion root, red clover, things like that to help our liver and the gallbladder to do its job of breaking down toxins. Hope that answered your question. But with something like that, that's where a consultation, like I'm really big on like, oh, this herb is going to fix that. No, it's not. This herb can help, but what else are you doing to help that herb to do its job? I hope that makes sense. Thank you. All right. Does anybody else have questions? I'm loving this. Linden, skullcap, Tulsi. What about you, Carly? No,
I'm not good at that.
you don't have questions?
When you say, do you have questions? Like,
What was that question you asked me earlier?
oh, about the anxiety and the depression.
Oh, yeah. So she asked a really great question. She was like, what if you have anxiety and depression at the same time? And that does happen a lot. And with that, that tells me that there's a chemical overload in your body. There's a lot of inflammation in your body, and it's just causing all of these different signals and reactions and feelings within your body. So that can happen a lot. So okay, what's your question?
Since we're talking about like anxiety and depression and PTSD, and we're like on the topic of mental illnesses, like how would you work with somebody who has something like schizophrenia or bipolar or ADHD or
So she just asked, how would I work with somebody who has like schizophrenia or bipolar disorder or ADHD? And there's this book. We hand me that book right there. This isn't the book, but it's the author, and it's called GAPS, Gut and Psychology Syndrome, by Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride. With bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, really all mental health conditions start in the gut. You've got to take out the fake food, the processed sugar. You've got to start introducing probiotics to help to combat, because a lot of these things come from pathogenic bacteria and yeasts inside of our body, that the byproducts, because these are living beings, and kind of just to make it like, when they eat stuff, they also poop and they produce these wastes, right? And those wastes affect our body, affect our mind, cause inflammation. So with serious conditions like myself, I was like, I see PTSD, polarized mood disorder, severe OCD, all of these boxes that they gave me, which I'm thankful for. I don't believe that we should be victims to these labels that are put on us. Rather, we can use them as toolboxes. So when I was diagnosed with these things, I wasn't like, oh, that's it, I have CPTSD, I'm OCD, this is why I have all of my problems. No, it was like, wow, okay, cool. Here's these set of symptoms that can help me to understand why I'm feeling the way that I am, help me to feel a little bit better about what I'm experiencing, and find ways to work with those symptoms. But with severe ailments like that, you can take all the herbs that you want, but you have to couple it with real food. Schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, that is severe inflammation. And that inflammation causes a lot of imbalance within your body. Thank you. It's a good question. And it's one of, just some simple recommendations that I can make as far as the food goes to help work with the herbs is, I like to, fruit is very important, and the sugar inside of fruit is real. It is real sugar that our body can recognize and use as fuel. And I like to eat fruit in the morning. When you eat the fruit in the morning, you're getting the flushing from it, you're getting hydration, you're getting the nutrients, and the energy that you get from that sugar you can use throughout the day. I don't eat a lot of fruit at night because I'm going to lay down and rest. I'm not going to use that energy up. So for me, lots of fruit in the morning, and then about an hour after, I follow that fruit with some good solid protein. Organic, free range eggs. Eggs are one of the most nutrient dense foods on the planet. And I don't have a lot of suggestions for vegans, but I will work on that. Eggs or some good quality chicken, beef, whatever your preferred protein is, but it's the quality of that protein. Was it raised ethically? Was it fed real food? Is it loaded with antibiotics or not? Because if you're getting fake meat, or meat that's loaded with all of those preservatives and antibiotics, that's only going to perpetuate your problems. So the quality of your food is very important.
what about
Tofu? Yeah, quality tofu. Yeah, quality tofu. The thing is like the amount of fats and proteins that our brain needs and our body needs and our nervous system needs. Oftentimes, the amount of plant food, vegetables and stuff that you'd have to eat to get that is a lot. We're talking about eating really big portions of this food to try to get those nutrients, and then our body's really tired trying to break those nutrients down. Also, where was I going with that? Any herbs that can assist in regulating blood sugar. I'm taking the essential minerals right now. So yes, the bio minerals can definitely help with that. Holy basil works really well for helping to regulate blood sugar. What else? Cinnamon. Cinnamon works really well. And especially, I don't know if all of you are in Florida or not, but it's getting really hot right now. And one of the best things that I like to do to hydrate, to cool my body down, strengthen my digestive system, is to take marshmallow root and cinnamon and make a cold brew out of that. So I'll take the quart jar, put 2 to 3 tablespoons in there, put like anywhere from 2 to 3 teaspoons of cinnamon powder in there, fill it up with cold water, shake it up, and stick it in the refrigerator overnight. That can help with your blood sugar a lot. The minerals, magnesium, if you can get magnesium oil, magnesium chloride, we do offer that. And putting that on your feet every night. And through practice, I've observed that a lot of people, when they put it on their upper body, it gives them energy, and that's because of its vasodilating effects. It's getting a lot of blood moving, especially with your heart right here. And then at night, you do your lower body to help you to relax. But magnesium is incredible for regulating blood sugar. That sounds delicious. I love marshmallow root. Yes, me too. And I've been drinking marshmallow root for years, and it was only in the last few months that I learned to put cinnamon in it. And cinnamon, believe it or not, I was pretty surprised too, has a cooling action. I don't know why. I kind of thought cinnamon would be more warming, but that, like, I love coffee, and I have crafted coffee that is like a medicine. And I put cinnamon, I grind my beans fresh, and I put the beans and the cinnamon in the French press, um, to help regulate the blood sugar. And then in my coffee cup, I put reishi and lion's mane mushroom. Reishi, too, is another herb we could speak on, because reishi is known as an adaptogen and helps our body to respond to and manage stress. But more than that, it's incredible for our immune system, works wonders for our respiratory system. A lot of asthmatics or people with COPD, reishi and elecampane are my yeah, my coffee is amazing, Jody. You should come have some. Uh reishi and elecampane work really, really well for that. But what else did I want to say about reishi? It helps to, so oftentimes some people when they drink coffee, they can get that cortisol rush. Reishi helps to counter that. They can get nervousness, right? Lion's mane helps to counter that. But I hope I answered your question about the blood sugar. Ceylon cinnamon. Yep, Ceylon cinnamon is my favorite.
What would you suggest to people who are like buying healthy food is too expensive?
Okay, so Carly made a great point. So what do you do for people who can't afford the food in the grocery store, especially the organic? Well, I want to tell you, inorganic fruits and vegetables still hold nutritional value. They do. You just wash them. I'm big on praying over my food and setting the intention. You don't have to call it prayer. Set an intention of, okay, this food is going to nourish me. But inorganic fruits and vegetables are still going to offer you way more than going to McDonald's. So I think that the health food world can push that too much. Like everything has to be organic. Da, da, da. Like, no, no, it doesn't. Do your best. Do your best. And then that's when you can get like organic not, but sweet potatoes. Yep, the dirty dozen. Thank you, Jenny. I was about to mention that. If you can look at the dirty dozen, things like broccoli, strawberry, stuff like that, there are some things that they use more pesticides on than others, but you can also wash your vegetables, just wash them, and they're still going to bring more value to your body than any of the processed junk in the middle of the store? That's a great question, because we do put too much pressure. Like everything has to be organic and everything is, it's too much. You just want to harm reduction, reducing the amount of chemicals that you're exposed to, reducing the preservatives in your food, reducing the sugar. So when you're getting fruits and vegetables, even if they aren't organic, you're Xing out the sugars, the preservatives, the artificial colorings and flavorings and all of that. It's very important.
Do you
Anybody?
suggest baking soda with the water, like to wash them?
Yeah. Yeah, you can. Yeah. So me personally, I don't wash my vegetables. But so I don't have too many recommendations on it. And the reason that I don't wash my vegetables is because I get them from local farmers and I know the soil, and I like to introduce the bacteria, the microbes from the soils. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'll run them under some water, you know what I mean? Like and rub them, but I don't use anything to wash them. But baking soda, vinegar, I think you can wash vegetables with. Yeah.
For like 15 minutes.
Yeah. And I know that there's also, they sell something, I can't remember the name of it right now, that you can get like a big jug of it and wash your vegetables with.
Like a veggie wash.
It's like a veggie wash, yeah. But baking soda. Do you have any more recommendations?
Me?
Yeah.
I just used water and baking soda, but I didn't know what else to use. Yeah.
How much baking soda to how much water?
I don't even think about it. I throw everything in the bucket, and I have it. I made myself a shaker because I buy the big baking soda, because I use baking soda for a lot of things. So I just buy the big one, which is cheap enough, and I put holes in the top of a jar and I just shake it on, and I don't know. I don't get
Nice, yeah. I'm just saying I don't measure much. So what are good herbs if anxiety and depression are present at the same time? We did touch on that a little bit, but I want to go back to ginger and chamomile. Ginger and chamomile, that is an incredible combination for if you have anxiety and depression at the same time. Or again, this is where we can do things like mix herbs like blue vervain and linden. Um, what else? Restore, yeah, Restore. Our Restore blend here has holy basil, skullcap, and passion flower. So the holy basil is going to help to lift you up out of that depression, where the skullcap and the passion flower are going to help to ease your nervous system to bring you down out of that anxiety a little bit. But also, you just can't go wrong with a nice bowl of vegetables. All right, any more questions? Other than animal fats, are the good ones just olive, coconut, and avocado? So, like the thing about like olive oil, avocado oil, sunflower oil, you don't want to cook those. If you were to eat it's cold and it's cold pressed virgin, that's wonderful, but you do not want to cook with those. But olive oil, thank you for that. That is a great source of fat. I also like to get MCT oil, and MCT oil is medium chain triglycerides that are derived from the coconut. And if you are a coffee drinker, or even you can squirt it in your tea, it doesn't really have a taste. You just squirt it in your coffee or your tea in the morning, or even just take a little bit back. Thank you for that. Those are some good sources of fats right there.
What are the benefits of a consultation with you, and what does a consultation look like?
Okay, so Carly asked, what are the benefits of a consultation with me, and what does a consultation look like? And I think that the reason why consultations are so important is because we're going to spend time together in the initial consultation, at least an hour. And I ask you a series of questions that help me to see how your body functions, how each system in your body is functioning, how each system is working together, and what herbs match your constitution the best. And what I also do with the consultations is you only pay for the initial consultation. And right now it's $71 for the initial consultation. And then after I assess your needs, everybody's needs are different. We chat on the phone once every week, every 2 weeks, once a month, depending on your needs. Absolutely no cost, to see, okay, how are the herbs working? Maybe they're not working. Do we need to make adjustments? I do my best to I really try to get people to keep a food journal, and people do not like this. It's challenging. I get it, but it doesn't matter if it's the best diet in the world or the worst diet in the world. It is what do I mean by constitution? Thank you. Great question. I'll get to that. Um, it helps me to see what your foundation is. And then if your diet does need some adjustment, we can slowly over time start to make changes. I do not believe in radical change. I don't find it to be sustainable. Instead of like, we need to take all of this out. The only thing I ask that people take out immediately is if they drink soda or eat like really processed candy. Let's try to get that out. But instead of taking things out, let's add things. Oh, you know what? Let's just add some fruit in the morning. Let's just add one serving of vegetables a day over time. Let's see. Jared said, I did a consultation with you, Cameron, and it was so thorough. Thank you for all of your help. Thank you. Thank you for doing the work. So constitution is, Savannah asked, what do you mean by constitution? And like I was talking about with energetics, we also have an energetic profile. Like for myself, I tend to run more hot. And I can go back and forth between like dampness and dryness. What does dampness look like? It's like sluggish digestion, not enough fire in there. So some people, like even body types, right? You have some people who are tall and skinny, they tend to be more hot and dry. And then you have other people who are shorter and maybe a little wider, they tend to be more damp. Does that make sense? So your constitution, we have our constitution that we were born with, but with the lifestyles that we live, the food that we eat, those also influence our constitution. So sometimes there are people who are not supposed to be damp and dry like they are, but that is their constitution in this moment. That is the energetic makeup and the physical makeup of their body in this moment. And then to kind of bring James's question back in too, of like taking a bunch of different herbs at one time to see if they work or can cancel each other out. They can. Because if you are damp and dry, you want to take drying herbs. And if you're taking an herb like marshmallow, you're just going to perpetuate that. I hope that makes sense if I answered that question properly. Gina, did I miss a question? I don't think I did. One new message. Thank you, Savannah. It's like somebody had mentioned Ayurvedic medicine in here too. So Ayurveda has like these three main, what they call doshas, and they are like our constitution. You have vata, which is very airy and dry. You have pitta, which is very like fire and hot, and then you have kapha, which is kind of bigger and slower. Like kapha people tend to hold more weight in their trunk, in their hips, in their buttocks. Vata people tend to be kind of skinny, where pitta people kind of, I just see a football player for some reason. um, can I do long distance? I have a family member with depression. Yes, yeah. So all of the consultations, I do the initial one over Zoom just because it helps. We do the consultation over Zoom, even if you're local. It saves us both time. And then if you're not local, I ship the herbs. If you are local, then we meet to exchange the herbs. And the consultation usually always takes an hour. I do mail the items, yes. Um, yeah, yeah. So I offer my services nationwide. I can only ship nationwide. I have done consultations with people in other countries before and then just connected them with their local herbalist to go get the herbs. You might have said, but how do you prepare your marshmallow and cinnamon cold infusion to bring out the demulcent properties? So no, so with demulcent herbs, like even linden is a demulcent herb, and you can use heat. But if you are really wanting to extract the demulcent properties from herbs, you want to use cold water. So with the marshmallow root and the cinnamon, can I please speak more about elecampane? You betcha. That's my favorite. But let me finish this. Marshmallow root and cinnamon, you put 2 to 3 heaping tablespoons of the herb, the marshmallow roots, into the quart jar, and then like 2 to 3 teaspoons or to taste of the cinnamon in there. Fill it with cold water, shake it up, put it in the refrigerator. You can also do this with linden. You can do this with lemon balm too. Lemon balm doesn't have as much demulcent in it as those two herbs, but it can. So yeah, I find if you were to put hot water on marshmallow root, you're gonna lose a lot of that mucilaginous content. What do you mean? Is there any help for Kappa folk? Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Okay, so the elecampane first. Elecampane is hands down one of my most favorite herbs. I joke all the time that I'm gonna get it tattooed on my face, but I'm not. But what elecampane does is it penetrates deep into your respiratory system, and and elecampane is good for the kapha constitution. And it breaks up mucus and gunk, and then it will expel it. So you will cough this stuff up, and then it literally strengthens the tissues in your respiratory system. Elecampane is going to do the same thing for your upper digestive tract. Any gunk that's in there, it's going to get it out. So this is one of those examples of elecampane might cause you to have loose bowel movements for a couple of days, but that's because of all of the gunk that it's getting out. That's just when you want to make sure you're staying hydrated and replacing any fluids and electrolytes you might be losing. Biominerals helps with that. Um, and the Latin name for elecampane is Inula helinum. Elecampane is loaded with inulin, a prebiotic fiber that goes in and feeds and strengthens all of the good bacteria in your digestive tract, arming that bacteria with what it needs to then basically combat the pathogenic bacteria in our digestive tract. Elecampane as a tea tastes really bad. Don't take my word for it though. Try some yourself, but it's pretty gnarly. But it is one of the best ways to. It's I feel like tea is superior to all things, even though I work with tinctures on my craft and I really love capsules, and I have seen incredible things happen with like elecampane capsules. They absolutely work, but we are water. So making medicine with water is one of the best ways to get it into our body. And if you were to make a tea with elecampane, this goes for burdock too. Burdock also has a large inulin content, and it's going to be all of the sediment that settles down at the bottom of the tea, the nitty gritty stuff that you may not want to drink. Um, that's where the inulin is. Same with burdock. That's where the inulin is. So you want to make sure that you're getting that in, and it's kind of like slug, but get that down. And then how do we what is there any hope for Kappa folk? There absolutely is. Like if that's your constitution, just like with Vata people, if they're out of balance, they're way too dry, they're super anxious, their nervous system is all over the place. You want to bring that back into balance. Kappa people, that is just the way that your body is, and when it's in a healthy state, that works. But if you're not in a healthy state, that's when you might be carrying too much weight, or you might have a lot of mucus, or you might be really damp. And another example of like dampness would be like a edema, fluid buildup in your body. Um, So yeah, there is a lot of hope for Kappa folk, and that's, I really feel like Bacopa would work. Ella campaign would work well for Kappa folks. Rosemary. How do we watch the recording of this? I have 2 YouTube channels, and I will type them in here right now. We have one for community nourishment, and if all you want to know about is herbs, I highly recommend that you only follow the community nourishment one. My other channel, I speak on a lot of different things that not everybody wants to hear about. Um, so you've been warned. Let's, let's see. So community nourishment YouTube channel. And then I am Cameron Jewel is the other YouTube channel. And I will be posting this video on both of those channels tomorrow. If you email me at communitynourishment@gmail.com, I will email you the YouTube video after I upload it. And then we've got a few minutes left. Does anybody have any? Yes?
I keep seeing these advertisements for this herbalist school that you get a diploma or certification. Is that necessary to become an herbalist?
That's a great question. So Carly just said that, she keeps seeing these advertisements for these herbal schools to get your herbal diploma or your herbal degree. And she asked like if that's necessary to become an herbalist. And first I want to tell you there is no such thing as an herbal diploma or an herbal degree. These are, I think, marketing scams. There's no such thing. Now, I do believe that studying with teachers and learning is important, but I also believe that just diving in, working with the plants, reading books, I don't trust Google, is the most important thing. But be very careful what schools that you're looking at, what schools you choose. If you go to communitynourishment.org and click on our resources tab, we've got some of our favorite books on there, some of our favorite schools. My 2 favorite schools are the East West School of the Planetary Herbology. East West School of Planetary Herbology. Michael Tierra used to own it. He recently just sold it. And then Commonwealth Herbalism with Katya and Rin. Those have been my teachers for years. They are amazing. Highly recommend them. Yeah, there are some good schools out there, but if you see it on like Instagram or something, I'd be careful. All right, James, I'm so glad you tuned in, man. You are so fun. I remember the first time I met you, so much energy. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you so much. We've got a few more minutes if anybody has any questions. I feel like I should have probably drank some liquids in before I sat down. I was a little anxious myself. And that's another thing too, like just like with learning how to be an herbalist, there really is no right or wrong. If you have that calling in you, just follow it. Just don't be afraid of the herbs. It's like when we do the foraging gatherings, when we go out there, I go out there barefoot and all of the plants that people are afraid of, I'm rubbing up on them like spurge nettle. It burns and I just rub my feet all over it and I let it burn to show people that like, yeah, it's uncomfortable, but it's not that scary. James, on Sunday, it is at Princess Place at the Escotarian Trail. It's in the Herbal Alliance. And if you go to the website, communitynourishment.org/gatherings, it'll take you right there. But there's just so much fear around nature, you guys. And we literally came from nature and we needed to live. So I suggest not overthinking things, just do it. Was Zenvita said, yes, someone finally said it. I have learned so much over the years by reading books, working with herbs, and learning from people like you. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that I don't know. It's hard to say because I have had to pay a lot of money to get my education but at the same time, that's why I'm really passionate about providing spaces to just talk about herbs for free and give you tools for free. Um, but be very careful before you do invest a lot of money in some herb school, especially if they're promising you a diploma or a degree or anything like that. But just order the books, read them, play with the herbs, have a good time. Thank you, Delaney. Delaney, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Delaney, you rock. Thank you. Anything else, anybody? Where can I get a hold of marshmallow root for tea? I did say it right. Nice. If I have a lot of it. If you would like to reach out to me, I don't think I've put it on the website yet, but we will work on that very soon. Here, I'll put my phone number in the chat also. If anybody wants to call me, all of these herbs that I've spoke about tonight, we have it. We have them in tea form. We have them in tincture form. I will say when it comes to mental health, I find tinctures to be really awesome because they're so fast acting. Tinctures are made with alcohol and they absorb right into the blood system and get to work quickly, especially if you're like in a crisis. Um, Tinctures get to work very fast. Teas, I like to drink teas you can feel also. But when I'm like really trying to strengthen my nervous system over time, I like teas. But I do it all of them every day. I have teas, tinctures, powders, capsules all day. Thank you, Dima. I love you so much. You're such a great support for me. We met at the Atlantic Beach Market Sunday, and I was so excited to find your organization. It felt your Thank you, Paula. Thank you. Oh, thank you all so much. And if you know, let me know what I'm going to be doing these free classes every month. So let me know what else you would like to learn about. You can email me communitynourishment@gmail.com. You've got my phone number there. Some of you follow me on social media. You can reach out to me directly. I'm thinking my next one's going to be on digestion, but I really just want to know what the people want to know, right? This is the people's medicine. I want to cater to you and what it is that you're looking to know. So please give me suggestions because we've got a lot of classes to come. Yes, Christine, thank you. I'm so glad that you all got something from it. I love that. All right. Anything else that I might have missed? Digestion would be great since it's so closely related. Yes, Savannah. So we do have we have an for anybody who might be in the area, we have an in-person, hands-on, really fun class coming up on July 17th at Volano Beach Community Center, I think. But if you go to the communitynourishment.org/gatherings, you will see it. I believe it's $33. The proceeds are helping us to get our building. We very, very, very much need a bigger space, everybody. We are operating out of a very small space right now. And the more people that we are reaching, the more that we need to produce. And we're unable to do that. And because we give half of our products and money away, we're like in this really weird place of, okay, well, how are we going to get the space? Because we need to pay for it. So the hands-on workshops really help us. Getting the products really help us. So yeah, you can find all of that information on the website. If you want any of these remedies that we've spoken about tonight, or anybody that was here tonight, I will talk to you for free for 30 minutes and I will ask you questions and see what we can come up with to get you some relief for whatever your challenges might be right now. So I will be available all day tomorrow. I've already set aside time for if anybody wants to call. I've put my number in there. Let's chat. Let's get you some remedies. And is there anything else? Thank you, Amy. What's the best way to make a donation for today? Let me see if I still have it in my copy and paste. I did put it all the way at the top of, hold on, let me copy and paste it really quick. I will give you our Venmo, Cash App, and Zelle information. And then, like I said, too, if anybody needs to reach out to me to get this information, please do. Thank you, Mark. All right, so there's that. I'll put my number in here again. Oh, so my number is right there with the Zelle. Right on. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I might have forgot. Ginkgo, Damiana. We talked about the remember to focus. Yeah, I just want wounded healer. This is another one of our remedies here, wounded healer, and it works really well for emotional trauma, inflammation throughout the system, anxiety. We're finding now that it helps with hot flashes, blood pressure. But really, if there are any key herbs that I would want you to take from this to work with on a daily basis, it would be holy basil, lemon balm, chamomile, and ginger. These very simple, very easily accessible herbs that you can drink every day, or take it in tincture form. I personally like the holy basil in both. Passion flower too. The list is going to keep growing if I don't stop. But so lemon balm, holy basil, ginger, chamomile, passion flower. All right, everybody. If nobody has any more questions, I think that we're going to end it. if you, I will be posting the recording on our YouTube channels. Thank you, Ginger. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, everybody, so much. Reach out to me with any questions. Give me a call if you want to, get a custom made remedy just for you. And we really appreciate your support. Thank you so much. Let's do coffee. We're there, Jody. Let's do coffee. I'm gonna blow your mind.
True.
All right. Bye, everybody. Mwah. Thank you, Callie. Bye.